Good afternoon to everyone and greetings. I am Pastor Fismed Omar. I work in the Potomac Conference and I am in the Alexandria, Springfield, and Shirlington districts in the state of Virginia. I thank Pastor Jose Cortez for allowing me to share with you my personal experience in evangelism. And I want to start by mentioning two passages which we know perfectly. The first passage is, the formation of small groups as a basis of Christian effort is a plan that has been presented before me by one who cannot err. We know it perfectly. The other passage is, Jesus approached people as one who desired their good. He won their confidence, he ministered to their needs, and finally, he would bid them follow me. Those two passages have been a blessing when used in the practical sense in my personal experience as well as in my ministry. What am I saying? That through home churches, and we're all familiar with them, the small groups, through small groups, in my personal experience, we've been able to develop activities and techniques that have been a blessing, such as the Friendship Project, the Health Fair, the International Fair, as well as evangelistic campaigns within small groups. Let me mention some of these things, and maybe the important thing in my experience has been, because many times we get frustrated as pastors. We definitely work with home churches or small groups, but many times the small groups leaders don't lead those ministries emphatically or enthusiastically, which finally ends in them closing up the home church. They lose their motivation, and this phenomenon I've experienced with the districts in my personal experience has been a blessing. What am I saying with this? That small groups shouldn't be a department within the church. The small group should be the channel. It should be the motor of the church. The church should work for and invest in home churches. And that has been the experience we have had. In one of my churches, we've worked with 20 small groups, where each elder, I have 12 elders in one church, each elder leads out 1 to up to 3 small groups, where we, of course, plan ahead. In churches, we talk about periods of evangelism, campaigns which last 2 or 3 months, a week, and 3 days of evangelism. Some of them work doing weeks of prayer, and that is important. However, what's important is that the home church goes through a process in all of these activities and all of these events that are carried out. In my experience, we have developed, as I've mentioned, we've developed health fairs. What is a health fair? It's where we provide medical assistance to the community. And you don't have to invest a lot of money into this. It's free. But this is through the small groups, the leaders with their team, their group. They have their people, their guests, their Bible studies, and they work with them. Of course, they go into the community, they invite the people, they come over to the church event, they receive the attendees, and after that, they're not just simply provided medical assistance. They didn't just get help. Rather, the leader, the elder in charge, the leader of the small group, conducts a follow-up with these people and is close to them, continuing to invite them to the home church, continuing to bring them to the small group, and finally, when an evangelistic campaign takes place in the church, those same people who came to the event are the same ones who attend the evangelistic campaign. I also spoke about the Friendship Project. What is the Friendship Project? The Friendship Project is a church activity which is developed through the small group, where you have an activity such as a dinner where you spend time together with people, where each leader, along with their home church, brings over those guests so they can share time with them and, of course, continue following up. The International Fair. We also did an International Fair activity. What is an International Fair? It's where you try to explain to that person attending the small group, that elder who is leading out the home church is inviting that person every week. That person who is attending that small group, they bring that person to this activity. The leader sits with the person, and through that activity, we let the person know they are not alone in this country. We see different nationalities here. Many times we feel alone in this country. We left our parents, our families, our wives, our husbands, sons, etc. But with these activities, we want to let the guests know they're not alone. That yes, we have different cultures, but we are one family in the Lord. There's a special program. Each home church leader, each elder with his or her group, bring over their people, attend to them, and then after the activity, they continue following up with these people. And it's being monitored. It's also important to mention that we work with the small groups on the campaigns. There is a role in prep, at least in my personal experience. I've been able to approach them in a different manner with regards to small group activities. It has been a blessing to me. We've seen the fruits. What do I mean when I say I'm approaching them more closely? I'm talking about having a preaching role when it comes to home churches. It's not just the leaders preaching. Rather, that's where the role of the pastor comes in, pastoral leadership, where the pastor is also involved, where the pastor is also preaching in the home churches, where the pastor is training the leaders, the elder who is leading out 1 or 2 or 3 home churches or small groups, as they are known by some, right? What am I saying with this? That the pastor of the church should also return to being the sheep, right? Being involved in the entire leadership process within the home churches or small groups. And when you work that way, I've mentioned that as pastors, many times we get frustrated. Many times we get frustrated because the small groups or the leaders get unmotivated. But the point and what's important is that when church understands that the home church or small group cannot be another department within the church, rather it must be the motor. The church must function through the small group. It should invest in the small group. All of these activities and all of these projects which we've done have been an enormous blessing. In one of my previous districts, through all of these activities, and of course through the home church leadership, the pastor being involved in the home churches without any significant investment, we brought 144 souls to the feet of Jesus, to the honor and glory of the Lord, where every elder worked with his people, where each small group worked with their guests, where they would call them on the phone, where they would let them know, we have this activity and this project, we have this amazing activity, we want you to come, we are part of the family. And they would all bring their friends, their guests, and in that way, when it was time for the evangelistic project, usually planned for 2 or 3 months, when it was time for the evangelistic campaign, so to speak, then each home church, each leader would bring over those same people who they brought to the friendship project, the health fair, the international fair. They were at the home church campaigns. They brought them over to this campaign, and then we end up with marvelous results to the honor and glory of the Lord. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Through these small groups and with these activities, even though we're still smack in the middle of the pandemic, we were doing baptisms in our district to the honor and glory of the Lord. We currently have more than 20 baptisms taking place in the district through the home churches, thanks to the leadership of the elders and the home church leaders. I believe it is a blessing. Put it into practice. Take the church to the position where the small group is not a department, but rather that the church work through the small group, and you'll enjoy the blessings the Lord will bestow upon you. Blessings to